Over a year ago, I picked up a car that most people tend to overlook or simply just don't know about. This is my brand new daily driver after the Subaru kicked the bucket. It is a 2006 Honda Accord V6 with a 6-speed manual. It is a sedan and it also has the navigation package, so it's more on the rare side, I would say, with the 6-speed. And I would argue that this is probably one of the best daily drivers you can get for a relatively cheap price. But in terms of what a daily needs to do, this kind of checks all the boxes. I didn't really plan on making a video on this car since I was refusing to modify it, and I wanted to just keep it stock and keep the money and time set aside for the race cars. But as I drive this car more, I kind of want to tinker with it here and there and get some modifications on it. So we're gonna dive deep into this Honda, take care of some maintenance, go over some of the mods I've done to it within the year, and pretty much go over how it's treated me throughout the 1-year ownership. First up, when I got this car, it came on white 350Z wheels. Now these were a staggered wheel setup and the paint was not done too well. I didn't hate it, I didn't like it though whatsoever, so I knew the white had to go. I wasn't necessarily trying to buy new wheels right away, so what I did is I resprayed the Nissan 350Z wheels silver, like an OEM color. And even then, my respray didn't turn out too well, and I just didn't really like the look of them. So after painting the wheels, I decided to toss on my work Eurolines, which I'm doing here. I figured might as well just try them on and see how they fit. And they actually fit pretty good. I really like the look of these wheels. Unfortunately though, I did sell them, partly because this is a daily, and with these wheels, I was so tempted to put coilovers on it. With all that being said, I found a buyer for the wheels and got them sold for a good price. It is what it is, and maybe down the line we'll throw some other wheels on it. I ended up settling for some 07 Honda Accord stocks, which are pretty much the same as the 06 Accord stocks. I really like the look of these wheels, honestly. It's just like an OEM clean look. This is probably how the car will sit for a good while. So with the wheels taken care of, we hopped straight into maintenance. So right here on this table of parts behind me, we have an OEM timing kit, spark plugs, thermostat, new water pump, all the tensioners and everything else we're gonna need. Have some extra parts too that we're not gonna be putting on quite yet, but we do have them in case we need to do that. Now, on the J30, there are certain things, pretty much any Honda J series, there are certain maintenance routines you should follow. I bought this car at 186,000 miles, so it was already kind of higher mileage. However, timing belt is one of the most crucial services you can do to these, and I did just bang this out off camera because it was, I guess, my first timing belt in a way, and I just wanted to get it done because with a daily I can't have this car sit too long, and whenever I record stuff like this it takes way longer to actually get the job done. We have done the timing belt, the motor mount, water pump, thermostat, all the stuff associated with the timing belt job, and we are actually going to be doing more maintenance on it now. I just got done rebuilding the front end, got new wheel bearings, hubs, axles, you name it, lower control arms, all that stuff was needed as this thing just rolled over 200,000 miles. And we also have more maintenance, like I said, today. So today we're gonna be hopping in the 3-liter V6 engine and doing the valve adjustment. Obviously, if you're familiar with Hondas, you know the valves need adjusted every so often periodically just because they tighten up or loosen. This should be a fun time. All right, so we got the motor completely torn down as far as we need to go. Super easy and nice to do, actually. It's really nice to work on Hondas sometimes versus other cars. Chryslers. Taking off the valve covers and the upper intake manifold. Throttle body stayed in there because of the coolant lines that go through it. Here's all the parts we took off. Obviously, I've got new gaskets for the valve covers and all the other pieces we took off. We're gonna clean up the valve covers as well. Not paint them or anything. We're just gonna clean up the intake manifold and that stuff the best we can, make it look brand new. Essentially, you rotate the cam and the cam is marked in there. The cylinder numbers 1 through 6, and I do believe they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyways, we're gonna turn the motor over, line up the numbers with the cylinder, and go through and use feeler gauges to adjust the valves. Now, there's a jam nut on them. You loosen the jam nut, use a flathead screwdriver, and turn them until The feeler gauges slide in and out pretty easy. So you got the lift under the front of the car, and we have our ratchet on there, which we are turning the crank with. Get this banged out, and I doubt I'll feel a difference, but I at least have the peace of mind knowing the engine is running as best as it can. Okay, we finally got all of the valves adjusted on the Honda. Not too bad. It was actually pretty easy to kind of follow along and do. Took me a good little bit of time, but we did get everything adjusted, and what I found kind of seems to be what everyone else finds. The intake actually loosens up a little bit, and I did have some exhaust that tightened up on me, but all in all, most of them were actually loose, so all of them are now well within spec, and we are good to go there. I got the valve covers all cleaned up. I got new seals installed into those. We got new gaskets for the intake manifold upper and lower. And I did clean up the intake manifold the best I could. This stuff is shining really good though. It's crazy before and after. We're going to be installing all of this back on the car, and then we are going to run it, and hopefully it runs really good now. It did run really good before, but hopefully there's no valve train noise at all, and I did everything right. Cross my fingers. This is definitely like one of those things where it's like you stay up late doing it and you got to work tomorrow, and well, you do it to your car that, you know, has to get you to work, so now you're like in a predicament, you know? Time lapse time. Alrighty, so the valve adjustment is done. Everything is put back together. Obviously, we redid the intake manifold and kind of cleaned up a bunch of other stuff. The valve covers are also very, very clean now underneath. And we did the engine cover a little bit. Doesn't look too bad. I don't mind the red, but maybe a little too much red. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up and give it a cold start listen and see how the valve train sounds. I do believe I did everything right, but let's double check my work. All right, let's get a little cold start. We're in neutral. All right, now the throttle bearing's making a little bit of a noise. You'll hear that. Obviously the injectors and other stuff make noise as well, but sounds very, very smooth. Sounds really good. Like I said, it didn't make any noise before, but just always good to double check the valve lash on these things, especially at higher mileage like this one is, but engine bay definitely needs a detail. But sounds really good actually. Go ahead and go back to the exhaust. Very quiet and tame, but sounds good. Alright, so obviously we pulled it out of the shop. I can already tell though the valve adjustment definitely helped. This thing's running really good and smooth. I was listening underneath the hood. The valve train wasn't loud or anything, but after the valve adjustment I can tell it it made a slight difference. You're not gonna feel, you know, 5 more horsepower or anything, but I'm glad we did it, and we know it's good. And like I said, it idles super smooth. They weren't too far out, but they were far enough out where it was definitely time to do it. All right, so yeah, I've had this car for a year now, put 20,000 miles on it, and this thing is such a fun daily. And we're actually gonna hit some twisties. Exhaust be sounding good. That doesn't handle like any doesn't handle like an S2000 or anything, I'm sure, but it's still fun. It's fun to zip around on some back roads. Transmission in this thing too. So smooth. So smooth, guys. I love it. But yeah, this car, in terms of maintenance, I've pretty much done all the maintenance that's really important to these Hondas. They're really reliable cars and they don't need a whole lot. Other than that though, I mean, this thing has been absolutely phenomenal. I've never had any problems with it yet. Like I said, I hit the maintenance right off the bat, just, you know, so we were good, but zero problems, zero issues. It's at 213,000 miles right now. You would never really know it. It drives pretty much like brand new, I'm sure. The transmission feels great. I think it's still the OEM clutch too, which is pretty surprising. I've been pretty nice to it, but my throttle bearing is starting to make noise, so at some point we're probably gonna have to put a clutch in here. But I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that. No power steering pump issues or anything like that. I know that those are somewhat more common, but I mean, for the over a year that I've owned this thing, it's been nothing but solid. And I would drive this car across the country right now without thinking twice about it. I think it would get me wherever I would need to go. Yeah, it's good to have a car like that. My last dailies weren't so reassuring, I should say, especially the Subaru. The Subaru got me pretty good. I think this is probably the best daily driver out of any of these cars that you can really get. I know there's probably some close seconds, but this is all opinion related as well. But this thing, I mean, I really just don't think you can have a better daily. Now in snow, which we are going to encounter this winter, obviously we're going to try to have good tires, but I think this is that's the only downfall of this car would be if it snows pretty heavy. I don't know how well it'll do. But at the same time, I guess we'll figure it out, you know? I love this transmission though. Like, look at this. It's so smooth. I've driven a lot of manual cars. None have felt this smooth to me. Now, obviously, this is 200,000 miles, so it's well broken in, but just, I don't know. I feel like Honda's unmatched. So with all the maintenance and all the parts we replaced, this car has been running phenomenally. Everything is working good. Now we can get into some mods. First things first, window tint is a must-have for me at least. I went ahead and did 5% all around except for the front 2 windows. I did 20%. My buddy actually did this tint for me. It is a ceramic tint and I love it. And next up, if it's not tint, the other thing I always do to my cars is exhaust, if it will sound good. So for this exhaust setup, I did a secondary cat delete, mid muffler delete, and rear muffler delete. So all it has now is the factory exhaust with the factory resonator. That is it. Obviously it has factory primary cats, but everything else is deleted and I welded it and did it myself. And I finished off the exhaust with dual 3-inch tips, which came out pretty well. All right, we're gonna get some exhaust clips here. Mostly it's factory piping and it's nothing crazy, but it sounds pretty good.
Alright, so we got the Honda back in the shop. We got a bunch to do to it, including front brakes and rear brakes as well. We have a leaking axle seal, and obviously we have the good stuff to top off the transmission then. But more stuff to do, and it's pretty boring, just maintenance stuff, so unfortunately we're not doing anything fun. We were getting a horrible brake noise in the rear. I already do have new front calipers, but we are gonna have to order the rears now. But let me show you why it was making the noise. So right here is my inside pad on the rear here, and clearly you can tell that it just does not look good. This caliper is also seized up. I believe these turn in because the parking brake is actually part of the caliper. So we're just gonna have to get new calipers. Like I said, I already do have new pads and rotors, but we're gonna replace it all. And if anyone doesn't know, these things suck to take out too. Make sure you get the right Phillips head. My front brakes were also making noise, but they're not metal to metal or anything like the rear was. These are just old. So we got new calipers and pads and rotors for the front too. And if you guys kind of remember me talking about it, I pretty much rebuilt the front end of this. We got new lower control arms, new rear ball joints, we got new axles, everything. Well, after I put that side back together, I had a leak at the axle seal. And right there is all of the fluid leaking out of the transmission. So we're gonna have to take this back apart, pull the axle out. It's gonna be hard to see right there. So we're gonna need to get that out, put a new seal in there. Not too bad, we're just gonna have to drain the trans and refill it. This is what I am running in there, GM Synchro Mesh. That thing shifts buttery smooth. I have no complaints with it. It is a higher mileage car, so I think that actually helped it out a lot more than the factory Honda fluid, but either or is good.
All right guys, so we made huge headway on the Honda.
So I finished up putting the rear brake assemblies together. Then we got one of the fronts done. Then I went ahead and tore the axle out of this side, and we're gonna go ahead and replace the seal that ended up leaking on me.
That's pretty much been the entire point of this whole video, was to just get this car, do all the preventative maintenance to it. And there's a bunch of other things I wanted to tackle, which I'll show you real quick now. So everything looks nice and shiny. We actually just undercoated the whole car. It's gonna be tough to see, but I did spray inside of the front subframe and the rear subframe as well. I really tried to get it up in the body, and I did that on both sides. I hit the pinch welds. If it'll help, I don't know. Let's get this thing lowered down. I'm gonna slap the wheels back on it. The brakes have already been bled. We're gonna fill the transmission back up with fluid, and that is going to conclude our session. Okay, so like I said, this is about 1 year into ownership. We didn't do anything aftermarket really with it. I started out with doing a custom exhaust on it. That's about it. I swapped the stupid hot air intake for the standard stock intake. We went ahead and did a transmission flush. We put GM Synchro Mesh in. It's been getting oil changes. Obviously, the timing belt is done. The valve adjustments are done. All the timing belt components have been replaced, like the tensioner, pulleys, you name it. We got a new serpentine belt on there, new lower control arms, new lower ball joints, new brakes all the way around. It's undercoated, etc., etc. We did the valve cover gaskets. We did the intake manifold gaskets, cleaned the throttle body. Like everything I could think of is done on this car. We did the spark plugs. It's got a new thermostat in it. On and on. I won't sit here and bore you guys, but this thing has been completely rebuilt in a sense. Drives like brand new. I'm super happy with it. Something else we did was window tint too. So all in all, we are probably, including the purchase price of the car in year one, probably in at about $7,500 to $8,000. Now, that's a lot of new parts on there, and I saved a crap ton of money on labor because I did it all myself. So this thing should be fully dialed in and ready to go for at least the next 100 and some thousand miles. We will revisit the timing belt then, maybe check the valve adjustment shortly after. But I mean, that's gonna last me a couple years, and you know, it should continue to go at least up until 500,000 miles. That's my goal. I'm gonna keep you guys obviously updated on this car. I'm gonna drive the heck out of it because I need a daily, and I'm a very busy person. I'm all over the place, so. All right, that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. We got all the maintenance done, driving this thing around for a year. I just wanted to share this car with you guys. Like I said, I didn't plan on really making videos on this because we're not gonna really mod this car too much. It is a daily. We're gonna save it for the race cars, but all in all, I just wanted to show you guys this thing. I feel like this car deserves a little bit more praise than it gets. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. We do have some stuff planned for this, so stay tuned. All right, let's see what the Honda can do.